Edition of This Week in Crypto. I'm your host, Brian. We should have Maxim, our CEO and founder at Santiment, joining us momentarily. We'll be going over quite a bit today as crypto has started the first at least 9 days of the new year with a nice little bang. Many climbs going on. XRP has had a nice isolated decoupling. SWI has been one of the best performers, at least among the top 200 or so market caps. BitTensor right up there with it. And we can see Shiba Inu and some other meme coins. Pepe has calmed down a little, but if we looked a week ago, it was one of the best performers to start the new year. There are a ton of different stories out there right now. You may, excuse me, may have seen the insight that we posted just about 12-ish hours ago about the various news stories that have been cycling about the top 8 non-stable coins out there. Those would be, of course, Bitcoin. We've got Ethereum, XRP, Binance Coin, Solana, Tron, Dogecoin, and Cardano. So all of these assets are in the positive so far. As of 12 hours ago, Bitcoin was up 3%. I go through each price return so far this year and then kind of explain what the hype is around each one, whether it's a minor story, something more like Cardano, which is just getting some technical upgrades versus something more like Solana, which is seeing a ton of hype due to the Morgan Stanley announcement of its intention or its filing of an ETF alongside the Bitcoin and Ethereum one. Dogecoin has also benefited from its 2x leveraged ETF known as 21 shares, which has been around for a little bit now, but it's actually the best performing ETF to start the year so far. There are a lot of stories out there, and what we do is we go through a couple of the big notable things that have happened in the short time we've had so far in 2016 so far. And then we also look at the sentiment and how the crowd might be playing into where prices go next. So I strongly encourage you to check it out. There's a lot of juicy stuff in there and it's pretty comprehensive, as you can see. Going back to the screen a really bit quick before we start to go through some of the key stories. I want to point out that Bitcoin is seeing a very slight uptick in social volume as it's been dancing around that 90K level. For those who remember, it got all the way above 94K, what was it, Tuesday or so, before we saw a little bit of a decline. And we'll analyze that and what kind of impacted those price levels as they occurred. Ethereum is actually getting a lot more discussion. It's interesting because it's been somewhat of a quiet asset. It hasn't really decoupled from the pack since arguably September or October when it had its, hurrah around the $4,000 level. And since it's kind of been ranging and bulls and bears have been fighting at that $3,000 level. But it is getting a lot more discussion this week, which, according to the article, at least when I researched, was mostly just due to the staking hype. There is a ton of staking interest right now. And as Ted Pillows on X pointed out, the Ethereum exit queue has dropped to just 32, which is a 6-month low. However, the entry queue is approaching a 2-year high. So not a lot of people leaving, but tons of people entering into staking. And, my assumption is that this is related to the stagnancy of crypto. When prices start to move sideways for an extended period of time, or, they're moving down as they did from, early October all the way till the end of the year before we saw this little jump. That's when those who want to stay in crypto decide, all right, I'm not going to do a lot of trades. I'm going to tuck it away and try to earn some passive income on my existing coins that I own. And that seems to be what's going on here. I heard a voice. Was that Maxim by any chance?
Yeah, who else? Who else could it be?
You know, these days it could be just about anybody, but I'm glad it's you. And
You mean with Korean accent?
well, I didn't hear the accent initially, but yeah, now I hear the Swiss and the German coming out. How are you, my friend?
And French and Russian, yeah, everything.
Oh yeah, of course. According to our comments, the French is really
Yeah.
notable.
This French guy, but now French guy has very good microphone.
Yeah, you sound great. How are you, and how are you seeing the markets right now?
We need to start from last week, when we came to it kind of naturally, that the way it looked, we should grow into the weekend as we thought, and then eventually go down on Monday. Generally, we were wrong this time. It did come down, but not on Monday. But that's actually the point I wanted to bring up today during our conversation, that timing is a very hard part of navigating market. You will find yourself, or I find myself very often, I find myself more often be wrong this time than right. But understanding the building up sentiment, and this, when you put focus on it, generally you will be more often right than wrong if you basic principles and get the right data. Our data, one of them, but maybe there are others too. So, and the thing is that data is being generated every day. Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why sometimes the shift of the market postponed, because not enough pain or excitement, and you need to keep analyzing data on daily basis at least, and analyzing the data on accepting what is coming might change your opinion too. So it's not a rigid process. Not a rigid process, and it's okay to change your opinion too, because there might be some new pieces of data. For instance, if last week, coming back last week, we were saying, you remember this, I think it was weighted sentiment, and at least weighted sentiment Bitcoin was like extreme, yeah? And we know this is either that's it, it's the top of the market, or we saw a few examples, okay, it can go for a few days. And on this alone, and it is a very stable, reasonable, and in my opinion, and in your opinion was too, very good indicator. Yeah, this is how you should position yourself when you see this kind of spikes, because we know on which data is based, like on 8,000 Twitter accounts. Actually, at the moment, we still didn't roll out 8,000, it's I think 6,000. So it's based on a massive, really crowd data. So you have it, yeah. But then there are other pieces of data which might be missing. They might even come through the lens of technical analysis. Yeah, like I like to draw Elliott waves, or you might draw RSI and divergences. Yeah, so you need to keep analyzing, and if even we stick only to behavior analytics or crowd sentiment, you start reading people comments, people comments and reaction, and you know that on the top or local top, or especially on a very big top, there will be very bold statements. And here on Sunday we didn't get it yet, yeah. And but eventually, I don't remember who was it. There were a few tweets which kind of looks like moves the needle. Let me recall, what was it? Right, that MicroStrategy on Monday, I think, was announcement. And there was everywhere around in the Twitter. Now they will not be removed from Nasdaq or from indexes, and or at least this is a narrative which people discussed. And you remember that Maxim, not me, another Maxim, brought us a link with a detailed research of this statement, and you see this is divergence. When you read the research, or the statement which Nasdaq did, it's not that positive at all. I mean, it sounds like we don't remove you now, but we downgrade your position, and we very likely remove you later if you read carefully. But narrative and sentiment, oh, cool, we win. And then, you know, okay, this comes on the top. Yeah. And then eventually, I think after one day, it went down. So the data keeps coming. Yeah. This sum up. Weighted sentiment, extreme. Came already, I think, Friday. Yeah. And sometimes, and I even did on Solana Sunset, didn't work so well. I say, oh, okay, now it's good. But then the timing, very difficult part. Yeah. And then you wait, and then there's another kind of signal. Yeah. Market perception or crowd perception. We have good news. And in this case, you read, it's not a good news. Yeah. So it's strong. So I did another sunset that worked well. And this constant observation of the market and being able to adapt to incoming information and be soft or kind to yourself in terms of timing, because saying, okay, now I did my analysis and market will crash tomorrow, it will be very harsh. Your psychological well-being will not survive. Yeah, because you will be constantly wrong or very frequently wrong, and it's very difficult because you need to accept that you are wrong. But in this really wrong, it's just timing, and it's very difficult. But so I wanted to start from this direction. Yeah, come out from last week, which brought me to think, oh, okay, I'm acting in this way constantly. I feel quite comfortable, if even sometimes wrong, and get used to accept your, especially timing from decision. It's a very important psychological part of when you make decision as a human and not like automated and coded everything, then you just need to accept your code is not working anymore. You need to create new strategy. But based on data we're sharing, this is very important. Yeah? Let timing work for you. And if we see more data, sometimes probably you post during the week, might start contradicting, which is normal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but we need to review today. Yeah. What is today on the mark?
Yeah, it's a really reasonable approach, Maxim. I think, like we say in our content a lot, all we can do is base where markets are based on the current situation, what's displayed right in front of us, with tomorrow or the next day being unknown. And, you know, we see questions sometimes like, when will Bitcoin hit a new all-time high? Well, that's up to us. That's up to retailers. That's up to whales who are constantly battling and deciding when they want to pump, when they want to dump, when they want to get irrational and FOMO or FUD. And there are so many data points that we can look at. And I think the best analysts out there are the ones who are able to change their minds and say, well, I was bullish on Monday, but this news event just happened on Thursday, or this whale just moved a ton of coins on Wednesday, and that can absolutely change the situation. So when we do these videos, we're always trying to take a snapshot of the best information we have in front of us now, with the assumption that things can change very quickly. So just backpacking off of your point, we can look at some metrics. I thought maybe we could start with some on-chain stuff if you wish, and then maybe we can move into some key points that we've prepared ahead of time. So for starters, we've got the transaction volume here for Bitcoin, which looks about on par. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Active addresses, circulation, network growth, they're all pretty average. Active addresses do look a little concerning. This is the 30-day trend line, which has been declining pretty consistently since around that October 6th all-time high. So a little bit, you know, stagnant in terms of the actual amount of unique wallets that are interacting on the network on a daily basis. What's still good news, and we were talking about this last week as well, the long-term 365-day MVRV is still at around negative 10% or so. It was actually right around the same spot when we did our show last week. Then it jumped up at the beginning of this week and fell right back to about where it was. with the 30-day MVRV being about break even right now. So long term, there's still a mathematical argument for getting in while others are in pain, meaning the probability is better than usual right now.
Yeah, but keep in mind, you might, if we, at the moment, I can come to conclusion already based on data I've analyzed so far. I'm betting on going lower, and I'm always kind of referencing Ethereum as this is my main playground. I like playing with Ethereum. It's easy to trade in decentralized way or moving in and out, enough liquidity. And it's not wrapped Bitcoin, it's a real Ethereum. So likely or preferred going down to 6 to 8, somewhere range. Maybe this range we've been having the last weeks getting just tighter, going down and up, and then we break down. So it's preferred so far.
Sorry, what do you mean by 6 to 8, brother Max?
2,600 to 2,800.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
I'm using
the abbreviations. Yeah.
Abbreviation, yes. 2, 6 to 8. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's a French thing. No worries.
Yeah, exactly. That's how we speak in French.
Yeah.
I think in America you would say 2,600, 2,800.
2.6 to 2.8. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's actually a good transition. Maybe we look at Ethereum for a moment because that's a hot topic.
But to get there, if I will change my mind, I wanted to see. We'll come back. Actually, it looks quite intense. Wow, we'll need to look into it.
Check out the network growth right now. It's absolutely going bonkers.
Okay.
So I've been trying to figure out why, Maxim, but this is when we did our education video on network growth a few months ago.
And I remember we said it's a bullish sign.
It is. It is actually.
Now we need to stick to our words.
Well, nothing is contradicting it yet. I think this is mostly just what all markets have been doing over the course of the last couple of weeks. So nothing out of normal for Ethereum, but this network growth is very abnormal. And hypothetically, it would be a bullish sign, at least in my opinion. And it's okay if we disagree on that. But for whatever reason, whether it's staking or something else, it's probably staking because that seems to be what a lot of the social media hype is about. But the amount of new addresses being created is through the roof right now. And January 7th, a couple days ago, was by far the highest we've seen. What was it of the decade so far? I didn't realize it was quite that much.
Even though, you see. Well, exclude this spike. Take maybe I don't know 2 months thereafter. Yeah, right
exactly. Here.
Take this time frame. So what I see on this chart, it was I remember it was May 21. Oh, it was very exciting time.
Yep.
You see this huge spike, almost as strong as now. What followed is very intensive correction. Yeah, so it does show. Maybe we can read it. It confirms we are in the process of strong market move, but the excitement is here. That's why people maybe deploy to different vaults, protocols, and it has to be corrected so that the hit is removed from market to continue. So, and this is my state because when I say 2,6 to 8 in French and in English, 2,600, 2,800, what I believe would follow is grow back to 3,400, 3,500, maybe 4,000. Yeah. So just remove the heat. But coming back, and it's actually cool. I did not see this spike in network growth. It's we need to pay attention. It's a very strong sign.
Yeah,
it's a very strong, good sign. We can come back. We also discussed it last week on specific behavior of small Bitcoin hodlers and whales, which was a kind of we did not. You don't want to see it at the bottom. You want it to be corrected. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The small ones. Is it now Bitcoin or Ethereum?
This is still Ethereum. Do you want me to go to Bitcoin?
Okay. Ethereum, we can use it, but we probably need to come back to Bitcoin because the narrative for Bitcoin was also quite strong.
Yeah,
was
here's the
tax harvesting, whatever. So people will come back.
Yep.
We'll need to see who came back. Yeah.
So based on Bitcoin, this green line is still showing it's a little stagnant, not much movement, and retail continues to accumulate. So this red line is 0.01 BTC or less. Green line is 10 to 10K.
Okay.
Still not ideal.
So you see what I want to see, and again, it's just my wish to make my call as risk averse as possible. Going down and red line going down. It means market corrected down. Some people realize, okay, we do need to take profits, so they reduce their holdings or they move their coins. And that would indicate retail reacts or smallholders reacts. They feel concerned. So this I want to see. Whether big whales buying or not, I've seen examples. They did accumulate before, so it's okay. They can be stagnant for some time. I'm more interested to see this red line, those holding between 0 something to 0.01 Bitcoins. It's flat now, which is not bad. Ideally, it goes down. And we see spikes in actually also network realized profit loss. Yes, now I recall. I checked it few days ago. It was too quiet, like really zero concerns. I think you have it too. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I don't know if it changed yesterday. I need to take Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin.
So, yeah, you see, okay, maybe remove this super strong spike when some old wallets have been moved. Yeah, it's not much. Yeah, it's not much. It's still not much. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be mostly negative over the last couple of days.
Yeah. But it's not only the value itself, it's a scale. As a matter of fact, this final or the previous, I know, hopefully final, but at the same time, me hoping another one bottom, it came with a very severe network realized profit loss in both directions, negative and positive. Just extend the line to show it to whoever is on our stream. Go back in time a little bit, yeah, with just to see the point, yeah. Not here even. I mean, yeah, this last bottom we had 80,000.
Just right here.
Yeah, exactly. So this was very strong, yeah. Compared to this volatility, what we see now is nothing. Ideally, it should be a bit stronger. You see, 15 December. Let's take maybe timeline from 5th of November. So exactly. So this big spike is out. So 15th of December, this negative spike. This is a good one, yeah. It could be also positive. We start going down and some coins moving in a sizable profit is also okay. We see it on 10th of December. You see, there is quite some good spikes up. Yeah. So we're not even close to any of this at the moment. So I want to see red line from the previous chart going down, price going down, and this yellow line spiking. As simple as that. Then I will feel more confident to go long. I might be missing, true, but according to, let's say, my internal framework, I'm not allowing myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense. I mean, we need to see a significant amount of realized losses in order for a justification of a rise to happen. So,
yes. But again, it's a relatively short to lower end midterm game I'm talking about at the moment. For long term, what you showed, MVRV is good, and it's indeed on negative side supporting more like accumulation. We can check. You're coming back to sentiment, yeah? Okay. So
yeah, I figured after we finish talking on chain, we could transition to social. One thing about MVRV, by the way, is, it makes sense that the negative 365-day MVRV is present for Bitcoin and most assets, because we did just come off of a negative year, and people forget that 2025 ended the year down like 6 or 7% for Bitcoin, 11 or 12% for Ethereum. So we haven't had many negative years in crypto. I think this might have been like the 4th out of the 16 possible. So now that that's happened, there is theoretically a long-term opportunity, and MVRV reflects that.
True.
And then moving over to sentiment here, it looks like it's come down a little bit. People were starting to get a little bit hyped here on January 4th and 5th. We then see a top,
Yeah.
and it's gradually declined down. So pretty much exactly as you'd expect it to play out. And Ethereum
Yeah, I can
is
check it.
actually way down, which is interesting. So this would argue against us falling too much further. This is kind of reminiscent of what we saw before Ethereum went on its major run last year, maybe around, right around mid-June. This was when like the Israel-Iran missile strikes were happening.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Ethereum takes off just as people were really starting to write off Ethereum. I wouldn't say that's happening now. Ethereum is kind of back to being an expected number 2 market cap for a lot of people. And, it's appropriately ranked once again. But the sentiment is coming down, and this is the lowest sentiment we've seen since about 3 weeks ago. And that's significant to me. I also wanted to point out Solana, which had a huge spike. You can see this buy the rumor spike that happened leading up to the ETF filings from Morgan Stanley. And so for Bitcoin and Ethereum, it wasn't a big deal. There's already a lot of existing ETFs. But for Solana, this was a major one because Morgan Stanley is obviously one of the biggest financial institutions in the world. You see this huge FOMO spike, and then we drop down completely as expected.
In this case, we had actually 2 very strong spikes in sentiment metrics. First Bitcoin and then Solana came. And taking into account that the meme coins anyway were kind of leading the market. Okay, is that in hindsight, this is exactly what made this last top to appear. Actually, I also remember, I don't know if I shared this, I think I did, in some of our channels, there were quite severe divergences in most trending meme coins in terms of directive addresses, network growth, Trump, Bonk, Pump Fun. It's internal mechanics which actually can be used to great extent because very few people using it. Very few platforms, I think, have even basic selection of metrics for top meme coins. We do. It was quite painful to build for Solana. And when meme coins are the leading or following the market growth, I would highly recommend to look into these divergence patterns. One of my of the famous framework in terms of meme coins. Sometimes market growth and meme coins are no way to see, so no need to look there. But the last growth was about it. Yeah. So do you have this chart layouts with
the meme coin comparison? Yeah. I just wanted to show this. This is the social dominance of, some of the top assets: Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, BNB, Solana, and then it's divided by Doge, Shiba, Meme, Pepe, and Trump. And you can see it's actually starting to climb once again, meaning meme coins are getting more discussion once again. It was interesting. There was almost no discussion about meme coins a week ago. And then it started to climb. I would have expected it to climb more, to be honest. And now it's back up here.
Brian, if I understand your formula,
Yep.
if you divide market cap or dominance, social dominance, mind share of major coins by mind share of meme coins,
right,
it means the higher the number, the higher dominance is of major coins. And the lower the number, which we had in the beginning of January, it means this is where meme coins took over the whole space.
Yes. Yeah, now that I have it in reverse in my head. You're absolutely right. So this means there's very, very little amount of meme coin discussion. This means there's a lot. Yeah, so thank you for that correction. I forgot how I set this up a month ago, but it does look like there's actually still a fair amount of meme coin discussion.
Yes.
Now it makes a lot more sense. And this is kind of a greed indicator as well, where a lot of people are trying to go for speculative assets here, and they're afraid of touching speculative assets back a month ago. So that's kind of an overall snapshot of how people are looking at the markets right now, just separating their altcoin greed versus, the blue chip coins out there. And then if we go to that other chart, which is meme coin trading volume, I'll get rid of AI. We don't need that. And let's make sure we're on Bitcoin. So we've got meme coins here in pink. You can see when they were getting a ton of hype trading volume wise, and they've gradually come back down as markets have corrected.
So even though it was already divergent on a still growing market, it means attention has been moving away from meme coins, so that steam power of current pump was removed. Because the whole pump, I remember it pretty clearly, it was first the meme coins. Out of nowhere, they just pump heavily. Well, not out of nowhere, I think for whatever reason, the market connected this Venezuela adventure with meme coins.
Yeah, new year, new speculation, I guess.
Yeah, or maybe people believe, okay, now our world is a pure meme. Which to some degree, I might even agree.
Yep.
And this divergence you see, it's a trading volume, but I've seen it also on daily active addresses, network growth, and transaction volumes, which is unique for our platform. You can track it for top 10 or 15 meme coins on Solana. Not all of them. Solana itself, surprisingly, is not divergent, which makes me combine now with Ethereum network growth, be a little bit cautious with my bearish calls. But the top was formed on a clear divergence pattern. It looks similar to what you see with the red line. If you open, I don't know, open Trump. Actually, Trump, I remember, was the best example. Okay. So, and then not volume, but take directive addresses. You will see it. You will see what I mean. Take your resolution for price is somehow too hardcore. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you see everything pumped and spiked in the middle, and then market kept growing, but all the metrics and directive addresses, we don't have circulation for Solana metrics, but we have network growth and transaction volumes. They just, it's very severe divergence.
Yeah. It looks like network growth is doing pretty similar to what daily active addresses are. But yeah, the big spike on January 3rd coincided with all of this meme coin pumping. This was kind of when Doge and Pepe and Shiba Inu and a lot of smaller meme coins started getting huge surges led by Trump. And then we gradually go back down after the top forms on Tuesday.
Yeah, and the price still kind of out of inertia coming up, but there is no participation. The space, the dance floor is empty, or almost empty. Not completely empty, there is some activity, but those who bought waiting, and there is no one new is coming. So it's a very simple premises for how the tops are built, and I've seen it. I think it's not overestimation to say hundreds of times. That's one of them. So, but also this pattern means if we see so strong spike in major metrics, we could have built 5 up. So we need to consider it, and combined with Ethereum network growth. And if you open for Solana major metrics, they were not diverging. Of course, Solana is dragged down by the whole market, but the way you see, every new price up was accommodated by metrics going higher and higher and higher. So on a level of, yes. So I mean, if you look very, very carefully, the top was built on divergence. I mean, this final top, but I mean, it's short term. So I'm still considering maybe it's not so bad.
Another thing I wanted to see, Maxim, was the ETFs. And we now have full data on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana ETFs, both on the volume side and the inflow-outflow side. And we saw some big spikes, actually, just to start the year. It's been kind of this way since mid-November, where we saw massive volume that were coinciding with mostly outflows. And then a few inflows started coming back this year. So Bitcoin saw some big spikes. Ethereum saw the largest spike it ever had on Monday.
Is it inflow outflow? I saw that you requested
Yes.
our developers to split it.
Yeah, we have it down below. This is just the volume, and we saw a big volume spike, by the way, for Solana that coincided with the Morgan Stanley announcement of their filing. So the existing ETFs for Solana got a huge spike right here of about $384 million. $384 million when that ETF hype. So maybe people were moving into the existing ETFs to prepare for the new potential Morgan Stanley ETFs coming out. And then here's the inflow outflow, Maxim. So we had some big inflows to start the year, and that supported the rise. And then immediately they started going back down. Now, the way I typically look at these is the big spikes are where the tops form, and the big negative spikes are where the bottoms form.
So far, it was a kind of lagging indicator confirming ETF participants to be more like acting like crypto retail.
Right. Yeah. More money moves in when the price is
running
already
out of the
moving
bottom.
up. Yeah, exactly. And then you can see it gradually pouring out as the price is already going down. So it's like a reactive metric from the crowd. So ETF flows have been up and down for Bitcoin, mostly down for Ethereum, going back to before Christmas. And then for Solana, it's actually looking a lot more positive. And this might just be because Solana ETFs are still fairly new. They've only existed since October. Plus, we had that big hype around the Morgan Stanley filing. So we haven't even seen a negative spike since the beginning of December now, about 5 weeks ago.
Okay.
So for what it's worth, whether it's institutional, retail, I think it's a little bit of both these days. It's a lot less weighted toward just institutionals now compared to a couple of years ago when Bitcoin ETFs first came out and it was just dominated by major corporations. So I do think it's a bit of a greed and fear indicator these days, where you want to kind of do the
you can
opposite.
say so.
Like here, for example, you look for the big spikes, and that often will indicate that a reversal is about to occur.
Makes sense.
We mentioned MicroStrategy. It looks like the last big spike was on Tuesday, and the social volume has kind of come back down. I also wanted to see higher versus lower here. And we can look at this for both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Since we're already on Ethereum, we'll just start in reverse. I'll put on shared axis. We'll go just the last week, make it nice, and we'll go last month, actually. We'll do 12 hours. Yeah, so this one was a really nice indicator. Look at all these huge higher mentions being mentioned with Ethereum right at that top. So people got super hyped, expecting maybe, oh, actually, my mistake. It's still on Bitcoin's price, even though we're looking at Ethereum, but it looks similar. Ethereum basically topped out on January 6th, right as all those higher mentions were coming in. And then for Bitcoin, let's do a quick shift. Here's all the lower or below versus higher or above mentions associated with Bitcoin. And it's pretty similar. You can see all the lower predictions back here right before Christmas. And then you start to see higher take over really it got, once the huge red spikes came in, that was the clear sign that we were going to top out, just like we saw back here on December 9th. The largest spikes are what you want to look for. So really nice indications there. We could even do XRP, actually. I saw this a couple weeks ago. And XRP is obviously one that got a lot of hype at the beginning of the year. And look at that. Huge spike.
Cool.
Just like we saw.
We'll use it in this way. Cool.
Yeah. And this is actually with Ethereum. We still don't have, I know our devs are going to have it soon, but right now
it's easy. You know what? Press a plus button. Or you can, you can change here. Yeah, there are always hacks.
Yeah, I just use the actual URL. Yes. But I know that plus button trick too. And then we can make sure it's lined up with XRP's exact price. Shared access on.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep, so lower right there, that's when we bought them. This was a little premature. These were perfect buy signals. And this was, yeah, now it's even more precise. That's like the perfect sell signal right there. The largest calls of higher or above by far over the last 3 months coincided perfectly with the top. So I really like this measurement, and it's a great way to kind of isolate for each coin if you just add the word and the name of the coin.
Okay.
In terms of any other news, I don't know if you read this yet, Maxim. I just posted it like last night before I went to bed, but I basically did a deep dive on the top news stories so far in 2026 for each of the top 8 assets, and then went over the sentiment for each one. We don't need to go through each one, but you know, the big ones really were like XRP and the hype around being able to get to escrow any token. So that's been part of the reason that we saw that big rise. And then you could even see with sentiment how people were trying to buy the dip on the way down, but as expected, they failed. That's how retail typically works. Their expectations are generally a counter signal to what actually happens. And then the other ones were obviously the Morgan Stanley stuff with Solana that's generated a ton of hype. I know the sentiment's come down a little bit, but from the partial day, you can see just how high the positive versus negative sentiment is for Solana. And then Dogecoin being the best performing ETF right now, that 2x long ETF that's existed for a while. Tons and tons of people are pouring money into that one right now. I'm excited once we have data to share on that to be able to track it. So yeah, recommended. I kind of went over it very quickly at the beginning of the call, but wanted to make sure you see it yourself because there's some good info in there.
And maybe Brian, to finish, I think I saw in our channels there were mentions of weekly narrative being updated, right?
Social trends, yeah.
I think.
I know we have trending stories.
No, alpha narratives. I think.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so we actually.
Was it?
Yeah, it is updated, and we haven't looked at this on a call in a while, so I appreciate you reminding me.
Just to remind also ourselves and others that we have quite a few places in the platform where you need to dig deeper, and you can read what actually has been happening in, I think, alpha narrative we take last week.
Yeah, even I forget about this tool sometimes because we've been adding so many, but.
Correct, Venezuela, yeah.
Yeah, Venezuelan oil. Today we've got Bitcoin's 17th birthday. We have Zcash. That's been a huge
drama,
story.
yeah, right.
Yeah, so all the developers have left over a governmental dispute with the asset. I mean, this is the problem when a coin goes on a 15x rise the way it did. It creates some internal messes sometimes. Like you get all this extra money pouring into the project for an asset that's existed for a decade. And I mean, it's pure speculation, but I would imagine that there was some drama between leadership and employees on how to allocate those funds with all the unexpected funds pouring in, and that created a mess. But I know there are people out there who've been reading up on it more than we have. I just know that this has been a big deal with Zcash's developers suddenly leaving. We even posted about how development has essentially dropped, which it's cool to be able to see visually what happens when developers leave. And it probably happened more toward the end of the year because you can see how development activity on its GitHub repository just fell off a cliff right here.
Yeah. Well, end of the year is okay. Holidays,
Yeah.
but it didn't pick up beginning of the year.
Yeah,
this is a warning sign.
Yeah, exactly. Coins have mostly jumped back up now, but Zcash continuing to go down because the news stories appear to be true. The development team is no longer there.
No devs.
Yeah, so
no activity.
Bit of a warning sign if you're in Zcash. If you look at the screener, it was the worst performer among, I just had it up, among like the top 100 assets. And I don't think that was a coincidence at all.
There are some other memorable mentions.
Yeah. Oh, this is one day.
It's one day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There we go. Zcash down 14% in the past week.
Mm-hmm.
By far the worst performer of the available assets we see here. So this is what happens when you see turmoil combined with, you know, some regression to the mean because Zcash already went up so much toward the end of last year. So it has not performed well whatsoever, even going into this news about the developers leaving. So always got to pay attention to what the development activity is looking like and the latest news stories out there. So again, I recommend you check out the article, which is a fresh look at the top 8 market caps and what the latest news stories have been for them.
Yeah, and check this alpha narratives. We usually publish it Fridays around lunchtime. So it will be a good summary for what happened last week. And more likely than not, you will find some stories which probably not in your focus. I find always something. Oh, did not read about in details. And there is good deployment of AI to prepare all this data, categorize it, summarize, and explain it. Yeah. So it's a machine put for the good purpose.
Yeah, and it's free, that Alpha Trends page. I'll put a post out about it today, actually, and do a little summary. But yeah, it's whether you have an account right now or not, check it out and bookmark it. You can start every Friday by seeing the refreshed data on it. It's super helpful.
Yeah, around lunchtime, European time, French time, 2 p.m. French time.
Yeah, or morning coffee time for us Americans.
Yes, okay.
But yeah, I think that's a good summary of this week, Brother Max. I appreciate you joining and giving your take on a lot of different things.
Yes.
I'm kind of with you where prices look a little stagnant right now, and the on-chain and social data isn't exactly pointing to a huge rebound. Could happen. Obviously, nothing's a guarantee, and we don't give investment advice directly on this channel. But we can look at the metrics, and they seem to support what Maxim and I are seeing, which is a little bit of overhype to start the year, too much meme coin focus, and now we're starting to see a little bit of a evening out period where those retailers are getting punished. So we need to see more realized gains for Bitcoin and Ethereum, and a little more whale accumulation, especially for Bitcoin, which is not present just yet.
True.
Good deal, my friend.
Good. Then, thanks for running it. Next week I will be on a travel. We'll see if quality, usually from MacBook is a good quality, but we'll see.
Yeah, no worries. If I'm doing it alone, I'll run the stream on my own with Max here, and safe travels to you.
Okay, cool.
Cheers, everybody.